Hey, we do these trainings for Alliance members across the state of Arkansas, and today I've been really excited to do this one. So much of what Alliance members do is help parents, moms specifically, either keep the children in their home as they're in trouble, or we try to really work and coordinate our actions to, as fast as possible, get the child back into the home, strengthen that family, and then help them continue that journey on to career so that these issues don't happen again. And I've got with me today some folks that are doing just that here in the Fort Smith metro area. And so, Emily, why don't we start and let's just give introductions. Who are you? What do you do? And why in the world do you do this?
My name is Emily Treadway, and I'm the county coordinator for the call in Crawford and Sebastian counties. And you asked me why, and I said, who knows? You know, this job it can be difficult, but it can be very rewarding. I'm glad that I do it. I guess I first started because I wanted to be a foster parent, and my niece and nephews actually came into DHS custody while we were in training. And so then that just changed the trajectory of my life, basically, and I've been doing this ever since.
And the call is you work within churches and with the agency, and you train and support?
Yeah, so we partner, we're kind of the go-between between DHS and a family that wants to be a foster or adoptive parent. And so all of our training, everything we do is the same as DHS. We just kind of facilitate it and make it easier for people to get through the process. And then we support them, yeah.
Right. Courtney?
I'm Courtney Harlan. I'm the foster care county supervisor for Sebastian County. I got into this field years ago, and the reason why I started was, first it was just a job out of college, but ever since I've just really wanted to help families and specifically help foster children be reunified with their families. And so I do ask myself the same question, why am I here and everything. It's very, very tough job, and that's, doesn't say enough. But, yeah, I'm here and hopefully sticking with it.
Well, thanks for joining us today.
Yes.
Erin?
I'm Erin Chastain, and I work with Arkansas Baptist Children's Homes, Connected Foster Care. We are a private licensed placement agency in the state of Arkansas. There's only a handful of us, and the flagship office of our agency is here in Fort Smith. So we, like the call, we will recruit families, train families, then we license and open those homes to foster children, and then we work with DHS on a referral basis to place those children into our homes and seek reunification.
And so we wanted to take some time today, and we all have talked before, but we wanted to do this for the benefit of other Alliance members out there, and just talk a little bit, dream a little bit about, my understanding is statewide statistical data is that if a child's removed about 42% of the time, so in the 40% of the time, that child's able to be successfully reunified with their family. But what would it look like, in your perspectives? I'm interested to hear it. What would it look like, to make that 80%? 90%, where it's instead of, maybe, but mostly not, to most assuredly, just depending upon maybe some choices of the parent. That's all that's left. So anyway, I don't know who would like to start, but dream with me a little bit about what you would see as we reimagine what this could look like.
I'll go. If we can't keep, children in their homes safely, how I like to imagine, how foster care would perfectly work is, the foster children get provided, that safe home, that safe environment. And for instance, that partnership DCFS has with Connected, I can hopefully place in a home that they have. And then we have those connected resources, such as the foster parents assist in supporting the bio parents with reunification efforts, as well as.
Is that a difficult ask for you with foster parents?
Yes. And that's, one of the reasons why I really do appreciate Connected, because, their education really, supports, if you find it in your heart and feel like you can safely work with the parents, that goes a long way. We see more successful reunifications with parents and families when we have foster parents working closely with the bio parents. And so
I can
we
tell
really
you
push for
that just as a former foster parent, one of the things, especially early on, was just nervousness about taking a child that wasn't ours into our home and trying to do that. And the last thing, especially with the first few that we fostered, I was thinking, I can't have any more. I'm at capacity. But then I think that one of the things that I realized, and Emily, I think you've done some research here, is that the outcomes for children that are in foster care for a long time, maybe they're terminated and are not necessarily as good as we might, that I had thought maybe when I first started fostering. I was thinking that child's in a bad situation and I'm almost the rescuer, but have come to the realization through experience and now data is, not so much.
Yeah, the outcomes, for kids that age out of care without being adopted, they're pretty tragic, and I think that causes that cycle that we see, especially here in Sebastian County, of so many kids in care, because it's just, tragic what happens. 46% of kids that age out will eventually end up homeless. 7 out of 10 young girls who become pregnant by the age of 21, and then those young parents are 3 times more likely to mistreat their children. And so you can see how that just becomes a cycle. And so if we really want, to make our community a better place, DHS and, the people at this table are really the best people to make not just children and families' lives better, but our community as a whole better. It really does affect all of us, in different ways. So
Courtney, you were dreaming a little bit, and I may have just kind of interrupted you, but go. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I was thinking about what Emily was saying about our youth that, we call it age out. So if they can't be reunified and say termination or something does happen, I work with a lot of our youth that are in extended cares, what we also call it. So that 18 through 21, and that's such a critical time, because if we can't get them to understand how to budget, how to keep employed and stuff like that, they are going to end up homeless, and that's what we do see. And so I was kind of drifting off there for a second, thinking about some of the youth that I've seen that firsthand, and it's really sad. So reunification is key, so we do not have that continuous cycle, because that's what we're going to see. If they have kids, we're going to see them again. And that's what we continue to see to this day. So
youth that age out, kind of sticking with the realities, you offer some services. You call it extended care from 18 to 21, but some youth choose not to receive the care.
When they do turn 18, they're an adult, and the state, says, you have every right. You can choose to stay under the jurisdiction of the court, or you can sign out. And, at that time, they've sometimes have had enough. Sometimes their homes weren't stable in foster care, and it's, not entirely their fault. They can't help if, a home closes or they move or something, and then they have to move. But if you have a child who just doesn't feel wanted or supported, and they're moving all the time, they're absolutely done with us. And so they're signing themselves out at 18.
And I'd like to piggyback on that, in a reimagined child welfare system, there would be so many more advocates. There'd be so many more people.
And by an advocate, what do you mean?
I mean, someone who's walking alongside a family, a child, the 18-year-old that's aging out, that they would actually walk them through a process of, hey, let me help you budget. Hey, let me help you get a job. Let me help you get a place to live. What do you want to do with your life, whether you want to go into a career field or college or trade school? What I've seen in the current system is there's just not enough advocates. I mean, you've got people who are called independent living sponsors, ILP sponsors, and what they do is they help an 18 to 21-year-old kind of get on their feet. And you've got some individuals who have 6 or 7 cases that they're dealing with. So there's 6 or 7 potential bank accounts that they're having to monitor. There's 6 or 7 work schedules that they're having to monitor. And so in a reimagined world, it would be that every child, every family has a team of advocates coming around them, supporting them, in our line of work, praying for them, seeking their welfare, seeking their success. I mean, we always want to be for their success. And currently, our family, I don't want to speak too privately, but our family is helping a young man because he was falling through the cracks. And so, although I can't foster with our own agency, I reopened as a provisional home with DHS in the recent weeks because he was falling through the cracks and couldn't get a job, didn't have a place to go. He already had his GED. And so this young man is on his own unless somebody steps in. And so having an army of advocates would go a long way to assist, the workers that are, just so overburdened and oversaturated with so many kids, especially in Sebastian County.
Now, Courtney, I can remember, you've been here for a number of years. I can remember in 2017, we kind of hit the high. We had 800 children in foster care. And it started, after 17, it really started to decrease a good bit. And I think we're in the, 500s now?
About a little over 550 right now.
But in that, there were several things that were being done by many in the community. But in the coordinated actions, when people receive kind of a team of advocates, we just did a 2-year study on moms that received that kind of collaborative care, and it was quite good. Their outcomes were quite good. What would you attribute that to?
What we are seeing and what I see is, when we get involved with a family, they don't have that support, initially. And so when they are surrounded with these resources and stuff and they know who they can go to ask a simple question, that changes everything. And so I think that when, you have like Restore Hope and Connected and the call, with everybody involved and supporting and surrounding themselves around that person, that changes everything. They know they're not alone. They know where they can get the help they need. And so then they make better decisions, and thus, they're not really getting involved with DCFS anymore at that point. So I think it's just, attributed by like just all the resources and the support.
One of the things that we've come to find is that there are a lot of resources in the community, but it's hard to understand who they are, how to access them, and then what the rules are.
Exactly.
Especially if it's a government resource, because there are going to be a lot of rules to it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Only if on Tuesdays and stand on one foot and, at this particular time. And so having advocates that know and have relationship with people that run those has been something that we've seen clients benefit from. Not only clients, the first people that get excited about it are the other service providers. They're like, oh, this was such a trouble for me. And so we're aggravating. I'm so glad that we got that part fixed now, and they do what they do, and they do it quite well, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. But that's what I'm hearing kind of y'all say on this partnership is we need to try to make that even smoother.
Well, you asked us yesterday when we talked a little bit about this, what was working. And I think the partnerships that we have is something that's really working. We recruit, the call recruits almost 70% of foster homes in the state. And I looked up some stuff, just different studies. And it said that families recruited through religious organizations foster for 2.6 years longer than other families. And there was even one study done in Massachusetts that showed that when they stopped partnering with religious organizations, the number of children that aged out of care rose by 50% the very next year. And so I think we're very lucky and fortunate that we have the partnership that we have here, that we can work together. And even though the call is Christian-based, religious-based, and, the DHS is not, that's not an issue for us. Like, we work together, we partner together. And I just couldn't imagine if the two of us weren't here and people that do what we do, if we weren't here, this situation would be much worse. So I'm very, very thankful for that partnership.
Sort of job description of a foster parent in the state of Arkansas is to support relationships with birth families. So if you're going to step into fostering, you have to do that. I mean, I want bio families to hear this. Like, it is a job duty of our foster parents to support those relationships. And that starts from, I think, session 1 of the training, and it goes all the way through to the end. 27 hours of training, constantly trying to prop up, the bio family and seeing the best in them as best as you can. We're not the judge, we're not the jury. We're just that support along the way.
That's good. So what I'm hearing y'all say is one is, foster care should be kind of last resort. We hope it's temporary, and we hope it's rarer than it is now. And then if there is a removal, one of the first things that really needs to occur is kind of a buy-in to change from the parent. It's hard to help someone that's pretty resistant to getting help, right? But then if they do want the help, if they reach out and ask for it, then that should be it, right? It's decision of the parent. The help should be there to connect them to resource.
I think people would be surprised, wouldn't you, Courtney, think that people would be surprised how much resources out there, how much service is offered to them. I think they just need to know it, to know that it's out there.
And it's okay that if your kids are in foster care, you're not a horrible person. My own family's been in foster care, multiple different members of my family. I don't think they're horrible people. They just go through bad times, and there's trauma that they've lived through. And so just, if we could change our own mindsets that it's okay to ask for help, the resources are there, to be used, and that we're all here to support each other. I think that would go a long way in allowing people to feel like they haven't failed.
One of the healthiest places, when I first started getting involved in kind of direct service, I took a client of mine who had just gotten out of prison. I took him to a 12-step meeting. Didn't have a car, and so I went and picked him up. I'd never been to one before. And I was thinking, I'm walking next to this guy who I'd taught a class to in prison, so I knew him okay. But I'm walking in, and I'm like, these people are going to judge us. They're not. It was one of the healthiest places I'd been. And I've come to now know a lot of folks that are in recovery, and leaders in recovery. And there were kind of two things that were true when we walked through the door. The people there were actually glad that we walked through the door, and they knew that we had some issues. That's right. It's like, oh yeah, y'all were jacked up, but come, you want a burger? Come on, we'll get to it. But you can get better here if you want to. That is, especially now with social media, and there's a lot of haters and judging, and it's easy to do that. But there's plenty of that. Right, what we need more of is folks like y'all, I think, that say, yeah, it was not right. But come on.
What we've learned in our agency is we have to get in the details. So when we hear something that's happened, there could be a lot of reasons that something happened. And so it's vital for us, and I tell our caseworkers, we have to be in the details. And instead of us sort of prejudging a family just based on one little word or phrase that we see on a report, we should get in the details because there's a lot more there. And I'm reminded my very first foster care case when I was a foster parent in 2013. It was environmental neglect was the reason. and I saw a bunch of words on a page, and it scared me, for these children. And then I met the mom, and I thought, man, all she needs is time. All she needs is someone to come alongside of her, and exactly what you just said, like just ask for the help, be willing for the help. And 9 months later, she got all 3 of her kids back. And 3 years after that fact, she Facebook messaged my wife and I and told us again how much she appreciated us. And it brought us to tears because we thought, I'm so glad we got into her story. I'm so glad we got the details, because we're so quick to write a quick summary or quick something. But if you get into the details, it can be that same experience as that 12-step program of, I'm so glad you are here. And yeah, I know you've got junk in your life. Mm-hmm. We all do, and we're going to work on it together. And I think it has a way of sort of leveling the playing field when we get in the details. And empathy goes a long way of saying, man, what if I was in, their shoes? Mm-hmm. How much I would need that help. So getting in the details, and a lot of times when you and I talk mm-hmm. about specific cases, it's asking questions, what happened again, and
right.
Where was everyone, and what were the circumstances? And a lot of times I think we can arrive at, in our work, kind of preventing further trauma mm-hmm. to a child, because we unfortunately deal with disruptions, and I hate that, where placements have to change and kids have to be moved from one foster home to another. And a lot of times if we'll just talk it out, exactly. we could potentially salvage further trauma from happening to a child.
Or we can come up with some type of better solution for that child and stuff. But I love that you shared that story, just because I think that a lot of people don't realize that when we get involved with a family in foster care, that we don't see that they're at their lowest of low. Like I like to tell people, they were already at a low point in their life. And then we became involved, and now their kids are in foster care. Can you imagine just how low they mm-hmm. feel now? And so, it does take time to rebuild that family, rebuild that person, because, we're talking like rock bottom, probably even further. And so that's where we're starting. And so that's why it is so hard, and that's why it needs a community to rebuild.
Why don't we go around real quick, just if there were one thing that you could change, what would it be? Just like right now, you walk out of here and something was different.
We do have such a high turnover, and that's just because it's stressful. People forget that, myself, everybody here at this table, but especially the caseworkers in the field, they are also traumatized by the trauma they're witnessing. And so it takes a toll on them. They, people say, well, don't take work home with you. Well, it's extremely hard in our field, because that's traumatizing to my workers, to myself. And, we have to keep ourselves in check. So, as much as we love the job and want to help families, that takes a toll. So having more workers that I feel like can dedicate more quality time to families to be able to communicate and stuff, that'll go a long way in helping reunification efforts and reducing our numbers, but also, reducing turnover entirely. If you're not overworking one worker with 30-something cases when, they say the average is supposed to be about 15, right. Which I can't remember the last time I saw 15 cases per worker. But, I think we would see a reduction in a lot of things. And so, yeah, if I could change something right now, it'd definitely be give me about 20 plus more workers for Sebastian County.
For sure. Yeah, I would say foster parents, of course, if I could, click my fingers, let's have more than enough, foster parents. We've talked a lot about prevention and keeping families together, but the fact is we have 550 children in foster care, and they need somewhere to go. And so until we can get those preventative services in place and keep families together, we have to work with where we're at, and so we have to have foster families. And it does feel like we're constantly putting out fires and constantly like, okay, we have these kids coming in, where can we put them when we don't have a home, or we have to put them somewhere. It's just a constant state of emergency. And if we had more workers and we had more foster families, I feel like everybody could kind of take a breath, and really focus on like what's best for the kids and for the families. Where right now it's just kind of like it's just a scramble every day.
Here.
Yeah.
That's this one county.
Yeah.
550
Yeah.
plus.
I know Pulaski's been on the rise.
Yeah, they're starting to
recently.
rise. And so, and I hope that I just want to clarify, like, for those viewing this, that's this county.
Just Sebastian County, yeah. And there's no,
That many
Pulaski
kids.
County is close to our number, but there's no other county that's even close
Exactly.
to what we do, so.
So there's way more foster children in the state, but just here, it's a crisis.
Well, I definitely agree with Emily that we need more foster families. We need more people to say yes, put their yes on the table. And it would be nice to snap our fingers and that happen. I agree with Courtney. There needs to be more high quality case workers. I get to know department caseworkers and then they're gone. And I'm thankful that we have a friendship, and I'm like, please don't ever leave.
We beg our
No
workers,
pressure,
don't
right?
leave.
But in an abstract way, the thing that upsets me the most about what we do is you are more likely to see a commercial about a dog in distress than you are for broken families. And you cannot see foster care. You can't see it because it cannot be displayed. Legally, you can't use names. You can't tell, not really supposed to give specific details to stories. And so if I could snap my fingers, it would be able to say, I'm going to put this right in front of you, community, and let you have to deal with it. Because I want to believe that's why the four of us are here. Because you said you were fostering, right? And you've dealt with foster care, and you've seen it. I've been a part of it. We have been able to see it. And I think if more people could actually see it, not just how hard and bad it is, but actually how restorative it can be. That is a beautiful picture of grace. Getting what we don't deserve, finding healing when we think it's not possible. I think we would see, I like the word cascading, a cascading effect in the positive sense. But you can't see it unless you are personally engaged.
It's great. Courtney, you want to
Oh,
close
yeah.
this out?
Sure. I really do appreciate this time and, our relationship. And I guess what I would like to say is, try to, next time, you're out and about and you see a parent struggling and stuff, don't be quick to judge. You don't know what's going on in their lives, what they're having to face, and they're doing the best that they can at that moment. And I think that, how do I say this? I think that people don't realize that we're all one decision away from being in this system. I've had very many cases that where I'm like, wow, that could have been me. And just recently worked with the mom that she really made a stupid decision on something, and that's what it was. It was a mistake. But I was like, wow, that could have been me. And so when I think of that, I'm quickly turn around and like, how do we fix this? How do we get her back on track and stuff? So, sometimes foster care can be that one decision somebody makes, and that could be you. And so supporting your community and doing what you can, helps everybody out, and it helps you in return. So.
That's great. Well, thanks each one of you for being here today and what you do to make this community stronger and care for families. We look forward to partnering with you in the years to come. And so, Alliance members, I hope this was beneficial to you as you're thinking about what you're doing in your community, how you might go about it, and then this imagining the thing that I'm taking away is this real need for us to, without judgment and without acceptance of the wrongdoing, right? But to come alongside people and offer them help, especially when they're in crisis, because they're at a point where they may not have any additional resource to get them out of that. And so, thanks for what you're doing. We're going to continue to bring trainings like this to you, and we hope that that you find them beneficial.